Good morning, Joey.
All right. Well, let's kick this session off. Welcome to today's Helium Live series. For today's topic, we're going to get into some cool Helium and Helium mobile, Helium network stuff with Coco Tang, who is, oh geez, your GM of mobile subscribers at Helium. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Cool. All right. Well, so the purpose of today's call, we're just going to get into talking about the Helium network, Helium Mobile, how they work together, how this is kind of a new concept, and we can get into some recent updates for the Helium Mobile network. So, Coco, let's start with the Eli 5 side of these things. So, for somebody new,
Mm.
what is the Helium network? If this is the first time they're tuning into one of our shows.
I've never heard it phrased as Eli 5. So for the sake of the listeners, it's explain like I'm 5.
Yeah, you got to bring
Um,
it down by Eli 5.
I don't have a 5-year-old, so I haven't tried that yet. But for somebody new, the Helium network is a community-built wireless network that anyone can operate. It is a decentralized network in that not one single entity owns it. And sort of in our um, perspective, instead of relying on cell towers owned by big carriers, the helium coverage is powered by hundreds of thousands of small hotspots that are put up by everyday individuals. And what Helium Network does differently than other networks is that it's built on a blockchain technology that really helps coordinate the incentives for people who create the coverage with these hotspots. And at Helium, these individuals that we like to call builders, they earn a token called HNT.
Perfect. Uh, so I'm going to try and summarize a little bit, and maybe this will turn into a different question. But if you're comparing this to traditional telco, people typically expect towers on buildings and big infrastructure and stuff that they don't touch, and it's scary and wild components like that. What do you see as the key distinction, I guess, between what we're doing and what people would normally expect as telco, whether it's cost or relationships or any of that other stuff?
Yeah. Um, so I'm sure you guys have all seen these like big cell towers. Some of them like to hide it and put, like fake branches on it so that it looks less garish, especially in the suburbs. And you also see these big cell towers in rural communities, farmlands. Um, these networks are very centralized. They're expensive to maintain, they're expensive to upgrade, and all of these infrastructure projects, their costs are kind of trickle down to the customer, which means that it makes it just so much more expensive for anybody to use a phone plan operated by these guys. And at Helium, we want to flip that model upside down, and we have. So instead of the few companies owning the towers, the network themselves, Helium enables small businesses and individuals to create that coverage where it's needed, whether it's in heavily populated cities, indoors where these towers can't reach, or even in rural communities where maybe the big companies decide that it's not worth the investment to give those small communities coverage.
Cool. So we've got the community out there building this big network. They're sort of applying their own agency to making that happen. And this dovetails perfectly into what you work on, which is now Helium Mobile as a carrier or as an MVNO. There's a couple of acronyms or concepts in there that we should probably break apart. Like, what is Helium Mobile at its core? And then with that, let's dive in and understand how it relates to the Helium network.
Yeah. So Helium Mobile at its core is called an MVNO, and that stands for Mobile Virtual Network Operator. In fancy terms, it just means that we don't own any of the infrastructure that our customers use. So we don't own any of the big towers, we don't own any of the big data centers. Instead, we partner with a big carrier that has that nationwide coverage. So, how that relates to the network, though, is that instead of just relying on the nationwide partner, we rely on the Helium network itself. So these individuals and small businesses that have hundreds of thousands of hotspots around the US is another network that Helium Mobile subscribers use when they need coverage. And it seamlessly goes from nationwide to use the community bill coverage without any um, work needed by the customer. They don't have to tap a button, it just happens. And when customers use that Helium built coverage network, it costs less. Costs less to
Mhm.
operate, costs less to use. And ultimately, what that means is reduce costs overall. So, this decentralized network allows us to offer really price aggressive plans, really low cost for all of our customers.
So there's a bunch of concepts in here, and I'm going to try and use this in a little bit of the zeitgeist of what we've seen in the carrier space. So if folks are familiar, Google Fi, when it launched, was the promise of aggregating a bunch of these carriers together. And so it was, I think at the time, T-Mobile and US Cellular and Sprint, and you could get one phone plan and it would connect to all these networks. And what Helium Mobile is doing is it's taking, one of those large carriers and leveraging that infrastructure. It's, I think, the largest of its kind in the U.S. It's a big network, right?
I think the first of its kind, really.
Well, I guess I'm talking about our MNO side, and
Oh,
then we're taking the Helium network side, which is sort of this gluing together other pieces, and it gives that additional connectivity in your deep indoor spaces, in your large venues, and office buildings and SMBs and all of that other stuff. So it takes this idea that we sort of seen in history of telco with Google Fi, but does it in a very unique way, which is this community built network. And it, because it's this community built network, actually has the opportunity to lower the cost and also provide that better coverage. Whereas the value prop, I think, on the Google Fi side in the day was just better coverage because you would glue all of these networks together, which
and
frankly
those were
was
still
an
really
important concept.
big
Yeah.
networks, exactly. Yeah, it never really solved the problem of the indoor spaces, the arenas, the stadiums, office
Yep.
buildings. So what the Helium network has done with its builders and hundreds of thousands of hotspots is that it's become so great at doing what it's doing. The incentive model works so well that other major carriers have signed on to use that Helium network. We had an announcement with AT&T. They use the Helium network. In Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
Telefonica, which is another big carrier down in Mexico, uses the Helium network. Um, and because of all of this, like we're seeing over 1 million daily active daily phones connecting through Helium network and using the coverage that our community has built. I mean, it's really amazing.
Yeah, had to check my little stats panel up here. We're still sitting just under 2 million daily active users. So
Wow.
we'll hit it. Fingers crossed.
Any day
Um,
now.
any day. Um, cool. So let's see. We've kind of covered a lot of topics. I got to think through my notes here. Um, oh, of course, we were sort of setting this all up. We've established that Helium Mobile has this opportunity for better coverage because we're sort of tying these indoor spaces, all of these hotspots that folks are deploying. But let's dive a little bit deeper on the cost advantage. And frankly, how can Helium Mobile do a free plan? How are they doing a $5 unlimited talk and text? Like, walk us a little bit through those plans and how you're able to make that possible.
Yeah, so the way we lower the cost is again through the community built network. And anytime a subscriber connects to, like, basically walks into one of these coverage zones that's created by the hotspot, it seamlessly switches. And when it does switch and when it transacts with the hotspot, the cost to Helium Mobile lowers by maybe like fivefold. And the hotspot owner also benefits through incentives via the blockchain. And because now we are incentivized, the community is incentivized to create more hotspots. It just lowers the cost overall. Economically, makes it more affordable for Helium Mobile, and
Mm.
that allows us to offer a $0 phone plan.
Yeah, I've seen it to be an incredible way for people to get started. They, of course, are critical because sometimes crypto is part of the conversation. Um, why not, right? Like you can sign up and it's nothing to get started. Um, so let's go a little bit into some of the recent changes for Helium Mobile. Most prominently, probably in the sort of history of the Helium Mobile product, we saw these cloud points become a part of the offering. So folks get rewarded for signing up, for referring friends, for being active subscribers, and then those cloud points are redeemable for all sorts of things. I should just let you dive into sort of what folks are, I guess, finding most interesting to redeem those cloud points for.
Yeah. Um, so maybe let's take a step back. These cloud points were a newer incentive that we've created starting in February which was what, only 8 months ago, when we launched the free
Oh
phone
boy.
plan,
Yeah.
a $15 plan and a $30 plan. And we learned a lot with our earlier days. When we first launched, we had to be really aggressive with our pricing, and we had this concept called mapping rewards attached to our earlier phone plans. And these mapping rewards started as a way for us to measure foot traffic and see where coverage was needed the most. And we used that information for hotspots so that we helped builders know where to place these hotspots, where it mattered the most, where it was needed the most.
Mm.
And earlier subscribers were rewarded for providing the network this information. They earned um, what first started as mobile, but now HNT. And when we started, we were very aggressive. You mentioned the $5 plan. That was a $5 unlimited plan that we launched in our launch city, Miami. And that was a
Mhm.
phone plan that was limited in time. And afterwards, we went nationwide with our $20 phone plan. We attracted a lot of early adopters and a lot of crypto enthusiasts, and we're forever, forever grateful. But since then, we've revamped our plans. We wanted to appeal to more folks who weren't interested in crypto. And so we introduced these cloud points, which is a way to reward the customers. As you said, Joey, referring friends, being a subscriber, signing up, and the cloud points can be redeemed for gift cards at your favorite store. So you didn't have to transact with cryptocurrency at all. In fact, you probably don't even know that Helium Mobile uses Helium Network, which is built on a blockchain. And
Mhm.
so, with the direction, with where this was going, there was a community decision to forego these incentives for mapping. And again, mapping was to see where coverage was needed the most, look at foot traffic, and reallocate that HNT to hotspots that are creating coverage for users. And so we're really incentivizing better coverage build out and more resilient coverage. Um, but that also meant that the reward system for our $5 and $20 legacy customers would be going away. Um, and so we know change isn't easy, um, and we want to make this transition as seamless as possible. So you guys may have seen, um, but we're going to offer loyal customers 50% off for an entire year if they switch to one of our $15 and $30 plans. And we're going to give them, a good amount of cloud points to make that switch a lot easier on their pockets.
Mhm.
And definitely with the Thanksgiving season, Christmas coming up, I'm sure that these gift cards would be put to good use.
I think my favorite thing to use those gift card or the cloud points for is just straight to Amazon because I'm an
Mm-hmm.
absolute addict there.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, and I want to touch a little bit on the benefit of removing the mapping too, which I think is, first of all, for folks that are new to Helium Mobile, they're not sketched out that their phone is asking for the location information. But then
That's
that
right, yeah.
cascades further down to battery life and performance of trying to keep that stuff active, right?
Yeah, we've always been exceedingly transparent with our customers with what we were doing. And, a lot of folks were skeptical of wanting to share that information. But we were very transparent with it. We never sold it. It was
Hmm.
used for the Helium network to better coverage and connectivity for our subscribers. And it was never meant to be a nefarious thing. And it never will be a nefarious thing.
Right.
But we wanted it to be transparent and it, by switching over to cloud points and removing that mapping requirement, it did reduce the strain on a customer's battery life. And we heard a lot of concerns about that. And so we're happy to make this better for everyone, really without sacrificing quality of the network coverage and the underlying incentive model.
Yeah. So speaking of quality and coverage, if folks want to earn HNT, where do they go?
So if folks want to earn HNT, we're always working hard to add more coverage to our local communities. And so if you're interested, a small business owner um, that wants to expand the network, go to helium.com. You'll see some information there. Otherwise, I'm going to put our marketing team on blast and say you can send Helium a DM on X and we'll connect
Hmm.
you to the right people. Because building the network is the best way to earn HNT because we have so many subscribers now. Just recently, we surpassed 500,000 signups. Right, we're just getting started.
Yeah.
I want to say we're the fastest growing MVNO, but I really don't have the data to back that up.
Hmm.
But the demand is there, and we need more. We need resilient coverage. We want to create resilient coverage. So hit us up, deploy a
Yeah.
hotspot.
You'd probably get directed to me, frankly. So
Yeah,
we could
DM
figure it out.
Joey.
Don't DM me. There's too many. Um, I think speaking on the growth, I think one of the exciting things for me is I do have a hotspot deployed at a coffee shop downtown. And in the early days, before we even had AT&T offloading subscribers to the network or things like that, occasionally I would see a Helium mobile subscriber connect to that hotspot. And now I am frequently, every single day, seeing some Helium mobile subscribers, like two, three, four, connect to that hotspot.
Incredible.
And so they are going, sitting down with their latte or what have you, not even realizing that their phone is connecting to this access point that is sitting there, giving them fiber connectivity to do whatever it is that they please.
It's really incredible. I'm glad you brought that up because it also means that our connection speeds are sometimes faster than what you would get from your regular telco carrier.
Yeah. I guess that's an important thing to keep in mind for folks deploying hotspots is making sure that all that infrastructure around it is the thing that you would want to be connecting to as a subscriber. And so the hotspot itself does some work to enforce speed tests and quality of service and things like that. And the network continues to evolve to reinforce those metrics and make sure that the service that we're providing is of the best utility for the customers that are leveraging it. So let's get a little bit into the future of the Helium ecosystem. So we've covered a lot of ground already. Uh, Together, how do the Helium network and Helium mobile redefine connectivity? Where does this go in the next 5 years?
Yeah. I think for the network, I mean, it's amazing that we were able to have the network and Helium Mobile come up at the same time because one
Mm-hmm.
provides the coverage, sort of the supply, and the other provides the subscribers, which we like to call the demand. And by bringing up these two sides up together, it showcases how this decentralized network can completely upend this traditional telco model of single owner, high prices, no choice. And with these individuals provide the community built coverage with these hundreds of thousands of hotspots, like this is how people can experience a new way of connecting with the help of their neighbors, friends, and even strangers. That, in my opinion, is a powerful new way of connecting Americans. And we want to make this go farther, right? Connect even more people, create even better coverage. I like to say the resiliency. Like, it would be a dream of mine to have helium coverage everywhere
Mm-hmm.
and really up in that model, really drive that cost down because times are tough, things are expensive. And we think that a new way of approaching this problem is what society really needs.
Yeah. Well, and we look at the evolution of the telco space, and we're starting to see direct to cell from satellites as a really cool augmentation layer for connectivity everywhere. Um, but the thing that those satellites are going to constantly struggle with is this indoor coverage. And so it becomes a very different approach. Whereas at the earlier part of the call, you were talking about these cell phone towers that are dressed up as trees and things like that. That is the existing way to create macro coverage in an area. But those also struggle to get indoor coverage, or if they did, it
Mm,
was at a relatively low speed. And so the opportunity here in front of us on the network side is to get these access points deep inside these concrete buildings and urban areas and dentist office and all of that, where people are just sitting there streaming Marquez Brownlee. Like that's my, go-to high def. Like you gotta watch it in 4K, right?
yeah.
Um, and that is a massive load on a satellite connectivity layer. It's going to be more expensive every single time, right? And so the future of connectivity, frankly, is this hybrid model where satellites are covering you when you're zipping down the freeway, but anytime you're stationary and trying to connect and do some measure of high throughput connectivity, you need that additional backhaul.
And let's not forget that deploying satellites isn't cheap, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maintaining them, developing them, there's a capital
They
cost,
have a
there's a capex.
lifespan. Yep.
It's very expensive, and unfortunately, that's going to trickle down to the everyday customer. So, as cool as satellites are, it's still going to be expensive. But I think what's incredible with the Helium network model is that you can just take these existing, they're called routers, right? But they're just like little boxes that kind of create the home Wi-Fi or the business Wi-Fi that you have. You don't even need to buy a hotspot from Helium. You can just turn them into Helium enabled. And I didn't want to go into this on this live, but there's if you go to helium.com, there's a program called Helium Plus where you can just convert your existing hardware. Like that is so economical
Mm-hmm.
for us to create this new coverage without buying anything else, without deploying anything, without R&D, sending things into space, hiring construction crews to build towers. You don't need any of that. And that's the
Yep.
empowering part of what Helium provides.
Yeah. There's so many ways to get involved. And anytime you're doing it, you're making the network better. Like it's the coolest thing to be a part of. Uh,
Yeah, and if you don't have the ability to deploy a hotspot, join Helium Mobile, be a subscriber. use the network, because that just kind of is the feedback loop that we're all looking
Yeah,
for.
cool. I think we have one question from folks. I don't know if you want to touch on this, but do you want to give us a hint, I guess, or summarize what plan makes up the most of that 500,000 signups that we saw? Like, what's the most popular?
Oh, definitely the free plan. Um,
Yeah.
I like to, so when you sign up, yeah, you get an email from me. I read every single one of them, and
Mm.
it asks them, why did you sign up? How's it going? Give me any feedback. And countless times I see people saying how the free plan has just made their life so much easier, how now they're able to connect to their daughter or their son that are living across the country, that they wouldn't been able to afford to reach out to them, how we've changed their lives, and maybe they've fallen on hard times, they lost their job, but they have a reliable phone plan that they can use. And so I'm really grateful that we can provide this for them. And I love to see where it goes for free plan customers. For our paid plan customers, our Air and Infinity plans, those are $15 and $30 respectively. We're so grateful for you guys as well, because not only do we still offer very competitive price, we have all of these great cloud points and gift cards that are associated with it. We're working next, to include more perks for our paid plan customers. And for our free plan users, we want to offer more flexibility with how you use your phone plan, because we know that this is a very important lifeline for you. So, more flexibility, you can add stuff, you can remove things so that it works for you and your lifestyle, without really sacrificing a lot of your budget.
Perfect. Cool. We have just a minute left. Any exciting things on the horizon that you want to give a shout out to? You mentioned a little bit of opportunity for the $15 and $30 plans.
Um, well, we're working on something a little bit more interesting on how, people can access more data. I think I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay, cool. Well, that's great. Coco, thank you so much for hopping on with us today. Always a pleasure. Folks should follow you. I think you are underscore Coco Tang on Twitter, X.
Yes, I think.
Is that right? Yeah. I am at Jay Hiller. I think we have the Helium Builders account, and then of course there is at Helium. Give all of those a follow. Lots of updates constantly coming out over those channels. Um, have a fantastic Tuesday, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me, Joey.
All right. See you,
Bye,
Coco.
guys.